The giant space station hung in the darkness like a metal city. Kepler Station was the biggest thing John Carter had ever seen. As the human ship got closer, he could see other alien ships docked around it. Each one looked different and strange. John was the leader of Earth's first big meeting with alien races. He had spent months getting ready for this day. With him were Lisa Monroe, his best advisor, and Commander Ryan Hayes, a military man who knew about weapons and fighting. "Look at that," Lisa said, staring out the window. "Those ships are huge," Ryan nodded. "The red one there belongs to the Vorthek. The floating blob thing is from the Nebulan Collective, and that insect-looking ship is Chitauri." John felt nervous but tried not to show it. This meeting could change everything for Earth. The alien groups called themselves the Stellar Accord. They controlled most of the galaxy. If humans could join them, Earth would be safe and could trade with other worlds. The human ship docked with a small bump. John fixed his tie and took a deep breath. "Remember," he told his team, "we want to be equals. We have things to offer." "Them too." They walked through the airlock into the station. The hallway was huge and made of some kind of blue metal. Strange symbols covered the walls. The air smelled different, like electricity and flowers mixed together. An alien waited for them. It looked like a person but was made of clear crystal. Light moved through its body like water. This was High Counselor Zithara of the Vorthek. "So these are the humans," Zithara said. Its voice sounded like bells ringing. "How you are." John stepped forward and smiled. "High Counselor, thank you for meeting with us. We're honored to be here." The crystal alien tilted its head. "Honored? How cute. Follow me, little creatures." They walked through more hallways. Other aliens stopped to stare at the humans. Some looked like giant bugs with too many eyes. Others were floating clouds of gas in metal suits. John heard them making sounds that might have been laughter. The meeting room was enormous. A round table sat in the center with chairs of different shapes and sizes. 3 aliens were already there. High Counselor Zithara moved to its place at the table. Next to it sat something that looked like purple smoke inside a robot body. This was the Nebulan representative. "Greetings, short-lived ones," the purple smoke said through speakers. "I am voice of the collective. We have studied your species, very simple minds. Like our ancestors had millions of years ago, the third alien was the worst. It looked like a huge praying mantis covered in black armor. Its 4 arms moved constantly, and its eyes never blinked. This was Hive Speaker Clicker of the Chitauri. Pack hunters," it clicked and buzzed. "Still fighting each other on one small rock? Amusing." John sat down in the human chair. It was too big for him. Lisa and Ryan sat on either side. "The aliens seem to find this funny. Let us begin," Zithara said. "You wish to join the Stellar Accord. Why should we allow such primitive beings into our alliance?" John had practiced this speech many times. "We may be new to space travel, but humans have qualities that could help the Accord. We're good at solving problems. We work well together when we need to. We adapt quickly to new situations." The 3 aliens looked at each other, then they started making sounds. The Vorthak rang like broken glass. The Nebulan buzzed and whistled. The Chitauri clicked rapidly. John realized they were laughing at him. "Adapt quickly?" Zithara said. "Your species still uses chemical rockets to leave your planet. Our children's toys are more advanced, problem-solving," the Nebulan voice added. "You cannot even solve hunger or war on your own world. Work together," Clicker clicked. "Your planet has hundreds of different groups that hate each other. The Hive finds this very funny." John felt his face get hot, but he kept his voice calm. "We may have problems, but we're learning. We want to be part of something bigger. We can offer the Accord our dedication and willingness to help." The aliens laughed again, louder this time. "How generous," Zithara said. "The great humans offer." "You ask their dedication? What else do you bring? Your tiny military? Your slow ships? Your short lives?" Lisa leaned forward. "We bring fresh ideas. Sometimes outsiders can see things that others miss." "Fresh ideas?" the Nebulan voice said. "Like what? Better ways to hit rocks together? John took a deep breath. This was not going well, but he had to try. We propose a mutual defense agreement. If any member of the Accord is attacked, the others help defend them. In return, we share technology and trade freely. The silence that followed was worse than the laughter. The three aliens stared at John like he had said something unbelievable. Finally, Zithara spoke. You think you could defend us? You cannot even defend your own moon from a single Chitauri scout ship? The collective finds this proposal insulting, the Nebulan voice said. What could you possibly defend us from? Asteroids? Space debris? Clictor leaned forward on its four arms. The Hive has a better idea. We offer you junior membership in the Accord. Junior membership? Ryan asked. Yes, Zithara said. You would be under our protection. In return, you provide us with raw materials from your system. Your people can work in our mines and factories. You would learn much. John felt sick. And our voice in Accord decisions? You would have no voice, the Nebulan voice said. Children do not vote on adult matters. Your military would be disbanded, Clictor added. The Accord provides all necessary protection. And Earth's government? Lisa asked. Would report to us? Zithara finished. We would guide your development. In a few thousand years, you might be ready for true membership. The room fell quiet. John looked at Lisa and Ryan. He could see anger in their eyes. This was not partnership. This was slavery with pretty words. John stood up slowly. Thank you for your offer, he said, but Earth must decline. The aliens looked. Surprised? Decline? Zithara said. Do you understand what you are refusing? Our protection, our guidance? We understand perfectly, John said. You're asking us to give up everything that makes us human? We would rather face the galaxy alone than kneel before you. Clictor stood up too, towering over the humans. Alone? Do you know what happens to the species that face the galaxy alone? They die, they are conquered, they become extinct. Perhaps, John said, but they die free. The Nebulan voice made a sound like wind through metal. How romantic. The collective gives you one cycle to reconsider. After that, we will not offer again, John nodded to his team. They walked toward the door together. Behind them, he could hear the aliens talking in their strange languages. At the door, John turned back. One more thing, he said. You underestimate. US because we're different from you. That might be a mistake. Zithara's crystal body flashed brighter. Are you threatening us, little human? No, John said. I'm just saying that being different isn't always being weak. Sometimes it's being something you've never seen before. The human delegation left Kepler Station 30 minutes later. As their ship pulled away, John watched the alien vessels through the window. They looked powerful and frightening. Sir, Ryan said quietly, what do we do now? John was quiet for a long moment. Then he smiled, but it was not a happy smile. Now we show them what humans can really do when we work together. Behind them on the station, the three alien leaders were already making plans. They talked about dividing human space between them. They laughed about how quickly the stubborn primitives would come crawling back. None of them noticed the small device that Lisa had quietly attached under the meeting room table. It was already sending information back to Earth about alien technology, languages, and military capabilities. The real game was just beginning. 6 months had passed since the meeting at Kepler Station. To the rest of the galaxy, Earth had gone quiet. Human ships stopped visiting alien trading posts. Messages from Earth went unanswered. The alien governments thought the humans were sulking. Like children. High Counselor Zithara told other Vorthak leaders that humans would come back soon, begging for protection. The Nebulan Collective made jokes about primitive pride in their data networks. The Chitauri Hive planned which human worlds they would claim first, but they were all wrong. Deep under the mountains of Colorado, Dr. Helen Brooks worked in a secret laboratory. She had been studying the small device that Lisa Monroe brought back from Kepler Station. The device had recorded alien technology signals, language patterns, and even air samples from the station. Helen was Earth's best scientist when it came to studying aliens. She had spent her whole life wondering what other life forms might exist. Now she had proof, and it was both amazing and terrifying. "Look at this," Helen said to her assistant, Dr. Carl Peterson. She pointed at strange symbols on her computer screen. "The Vorthic technology uses crystal matrices to store energy. But see this pattern here? It repeats every few seconds." Carl looked closer. He was young but very smart, especially with computers and machines. "It's like a heartbeat," he said. "Very regular." "Exactly," Helen said. "Their technology is advanced, but it's also predictable. They build everything the same way because it works." "But that also means—" "That means we can figure out how to stop it," Carl finished. Helen smiled. "You learn fast." In another part of the facility, General Paul Adams was looking at very different information. He stood in front of a huge wall screen showing star maps and ship designs. Paul had been a soldier for 30 years. He knew how to fight, and more importantly, he knew how to win. "Show me the Chitauri attack patterns again," he said to Maya Singh, his best engineer. Maya was small but fierce. She had built some of Earth's fastest spaceships. Now, she was working on something much more important. The screen showed recordings of Chitauri military exercises that human spies had obtained. "They always attack in straight lines," Maya said. "Big ships in front, smaller ones behind. Very organized, like a parade." "And the Vorthak?" "They like to show off," Maya said, switching the display. "Crystal ships that shine and flash. They try to scare enemies before fighting them. Their weapons are powerful, but they take time to charge up." Paul nodded. "What about the Nebulan Collective?" "Harder to understand," Maya admitted. "They're gas beings in robot bodies. Their ships can split apart and come back together, but they seem to think very slowly. Everything they do is planned far ahead." "Good," Paul said. "Predictable enemies are defeatable enemies." Across the room, Captain Steve Johnson was training with a group of pilots. Steve had always been the best at flying fast and fighting smart. Now he was teaching others his skills. "Forget everything you know about space battles," Steve told his students. "The aliens fight like they're driving trucks. Big, slow, and straight ahead. We're going to fight like motorcycles. Fast, quick turns, and always moving." One young pilot raised her hand. "But Captain, their ships are much bigger than ours. How can we win against them?" Steve grinned. "A mosquito can't hurt an elephant by itself, but 1,000 mosquitoes can. Drive an elephant crazy. We're going to be the mosquitoes." Far from Earth, on a small moon called Haven Prime, Elena Rodriguez sat in a quiet cafe. Elena was good at talking to people and making them trust her. She had spent the last 6 months traveling to worlds that most humans had never heard of. The being across from her looked like a fish with arms and legs. Its skin was blue-green and wet. This was Commander Reefsinger of the Murhai people. "Your offer is interesting, human Elena," Reefsinger said in bubbly English. "But why should the Murhai trust Earth? We barely know your species." Elena sipped her strange alien tea. It tasted like seaweed, but she tried not to make a face. "Because we're both tired of being told what to do by the Stellar Accord." Reefsinger's big eyes blinked slowly. "The Accord has protected the Murhai for many cycles." "Protected you from what?" Elena asked gently. "From making your own choices? From trading with who you want? From keeping your own customs?" The fish-like alien was quiet for a long time. Finally, it spoke. "The Accord says the Murhai are too emotional to make good decisions. They say we need guidance? And what do you say?" Reefsinger's gills fluttered. "I say the Murhai have swum the dark oceans of space for longer than the Vorthak have existed. We do not need crystal beings to tell us how to live." Elena nodded. "That's exactly what Earth thinks too." On another world, Lieutenant Kate Morris walked through a crystal forest. The trees here were made of living glass that sang in the wind. Kate was Earth's best spy. She could sneak into places and steal information without anyone knowing. Her contact here was something called a flux being. Flux looked like a small ball of lightning that could talk. Most aliens thought flux were just pretty lights with no real intelligence. They were very wrong. "The singing crystals tell us many things," Flux said in a voice like distant thunder. "The Accord ships carry weapons of 3 types. Energy beams, physical projectiles, and gravity manipulators. Kate made notes in her hidden recorder. What? About their shields? Shields pulse at regular intervals, Flux explained, like breathing. Strong, then weak, then strong again. The weak moments last exactly 2.3 seconds in your time measurement. That's very specific, Kate said. Flux flickered brighter. Flux beings see time differently than others. We notice patterns that solid beings miss. Back on Earth, all this information was coming together in a secret command center. John Carter stood with General Adams, Dr. Brooks, and other leaders. They were looking at the biggest puzzle humanity had ever tried to solve. How many ships can we build in secret? John asked. Maya Singh answered from her workstation. If we use the asteroid mining facilities, maybe 300 small attack ships. We can't match their big ships, but we can build many fast ones. And our new weapons? Paul asked. Carl Peterson smiled. Based on Dr. Brooks' research, we figured out how to make our energy weapons change frequency during battle. Their shields won't be able to adapt fast enough. Helen Brooks added, we've also learned how to jam their communications. The Vorthak use crystal resonance for everything. If we disrupt that resonance, their ships become deaf and blind, John finished. What about allies? Elena's voice came through the communication system from space. The Murhai are interested. So are the Rocky people and the Flux beings. None of them like being treated. As children by the Accord, how many ships could they provide? Paul asked. Not many big ones, Elena admitted. But they have other skills? The Murhai are excellent at underwater and surprise attacks. The Rocky people can survive in space without ships, and the Flux beings can hide inside electronic systems. Steve Johnson looked up from his training schedules. General, my pilots are ready. We've been practicing the new tactics for months. We can work with alien allies if needed. John looked around the room at all these brilliant people. 6 months ago, the galaxy had laughed at humanity. They called humans primitive and weak. But now, humans were preparing something that no one expected. How long until we're ready? John asked. Paul checked his reports. 2 more months for the ships, 1 month for final training. May's new weapons should be installed by then. And our secret allies? Elena's voice crackled over the speakers. They're ready when we are. Everyone is tired of the Accord's rules. John nodded slowly. Then we wait for them to make the first move. And when they do, Paul said grimly, they're going to learn that underestimating humans was the biggest mistake of their very long lives. Outside the hidden facility, Earth looked peaceful and quiet. Regular people went to work, children played in parks, and life continued normally. But deep underground and in secret bases across the solar system, humanity was preparing for something the galaxy had never seen before. The aliens thought Earth had given up. They thought humans were too proud and too stupid to accept their place as junior partners. They were making plans to teach humanity a lesson about refusing the Accord's generous offer. What they didn't know was that humanity was planning to teach them a lesson too, and it would be a lesson they would never forget. The attack came without warning on a Tuesday morning. Captain Rachel Stone was drinking coffee in her command center when the alarm started screaming. She had been expecting this for months, but it still made her heart race. Captain, we have incoming ships, reported her communications officer, Lieutenant Ben Carter. Chitauri fleet, 37 vessels. They'll reach Proxima Mining Station in 4 hours. Rachel set down her coffee and looked at the display screen. The enemy ships looked like giant metal insects flying through space. They were big and heavily armed, just like the intelligence report said they would be. Any message from them? Rachel asked. Yes, ma'am, Ben said. They're demanding immediate surrender? They say resistance is useless against the Chitauri hive, Rachel almost smiled. If only they knew what they were really flying into. Send a reply. Tell them that Proxima Mining Station refuses to surrender. Tell them we'll fight for our freedom. The response came quickly. Harsh clicking and buzzing sounds filled the command center as the Chitauri leader spoke. The translation is coming through now, Ben said. Swarm Commander Clichter says we are foolish insects who will be crushed like bugs. He says this attack is a lesson for all humans who refuse the Accord's wisdom. How poetic, Rachel said. All stations, prepare for battle. This is what we've been training for. Around the solar system, other human commanders received the same message. The Chitauri weren't just attacking Proxima Station. They were hitting 3 different mining colonies at the same time. It was meant to be a demonstration of power, showing the galaxy what happened to species who said no to the Stellar Accord, but the Chitauri had made one big mistake. They thought they were attacking helpless mining stations with weak defenses. They had no idea what humanity had built in secret. As the enemy fleet got closer, Rachel walked through her command center. Her crew looked nervous but determined. These weren't professional soldiers. They were miners, engineers, and regular people who had volunteered to defend their homes. Remember your training, Rachel told them. We're not trying to win a fair fight. We're trying to win, period. Dr. Helen Brooks spoke over the communication system from Earth. Rachel, our scans show the Chitauri ships are using standard hive formations. Everything is exactly like our intelligence predicted. Weapon frequencies? Rachel asked. Locked onto their shield patterns, reported Carl Peterson from the weapons control room. We can punch through their defenses, but we'll need to hit them at exactly the right moments, Rachel nodded. What about our secret weapons? Maya Singh's voice crackled over the speakers. All systems ready, Captain. The station's transformation sequence can begin on your order. Through the main viewing window, Rachel could see the Chitauri fleet approaching. The ships were arranged in perfect geometric patterns, just like the hive always did everything. They looked unstoppable. This is Swarm Commander Clichter to Human Mining Station, came the translation of harsh clicking sounds. You have one final chance to surrender. Submit now and your deaths will be quick. Rachel picked up the communication device. This is Captain Rachel Stone of Proxima Defense Force. Come and take it. The Chitauri ships opened fire first. Bright energy beams shot through space toward the mining station. But instead of hitting helpless buildings, the beams struck powerful shields that flared with blue light. Shields holding at 90%, reported the defense officer. Their weapons are exactly the frequency Dr. Brooks predicted. Return fire, Rachel ordered. Let's show them what human engineering can do. The mining station's hidden weapon systems came online. What looked like simple mining equipment suddenly revealed itself as advanced military hardware. Laser batteries emerged from fake storage containers. Missile launchers rose from beneath landing platforms. But the real surprise was still coming. All ships, this is Captain Stone, Rachel announced to her small fleet. Execute Plan Mosquito Swarm. From behind asteroids and hidden in sensor shadows, the human defense fleet revealed itself. 50 small, fast ships appeared around the Chitauri formation. They didn't look like much compared to the massive hive vessels, but they moved like nothing the aliens had ever seen. Steve Johnson led the attack in his ship, the Fast Strike. All pilots, remember your training. Hit fast, move faster, never stay in one place. The human ships darted between the Chitauri vessels like angry wasps. Their weapons fired in quick bursts, targeting specific weak points that Dr. Brooks had identified. Each hit was precisely aimed to cause maximum damage. Impossible, came Clichter's translated voice. How do they know our vulnerable spots? The Chitauri tried to respond with their standard tactics. Big ships turned slowly to bring their main guns to bear on the human fighters. But the human ships were already gone, attacking from a different direction. Their shields are dropping, reported Ben Carter. Dr. Brooks was right about the pulse timing. Rachel watched the battle display with growing excitement. The human ships were hitting the Chitauri fleet during the exact moments when their shields were weakest. Every attack found its mark, but the biggest surprise was still coming. Maya, are you ready? Rachel asked. All systems green, Captain. Beginning transformation now. The mining station began to change. Outer walls slid away to reveal hidden armor plating. Fake mining equipment retracted into the structure. What had looked like a simple space station suddenly revealed itself as a massive fortress. By the hive? Clictor translator said. It's a trap. The mining station is a military base. Not just a military base, Rachel said with satisfaction. The most advanced fortress humanity has ever built. The station's main weapon came online. It was based on technology that humans had developed by studying alien weaknesses. The massive beam that shot out wasn't just powerful. It was designed specifically to disrupt Chitauri armor and shields. 3 Chitauri ships died in the first shot. Their armor simply melted away like ice in sunlight. The battle turned into a disaster for the Hive fleet. Human ships swarmed around them, hitting weak points and disappearing before the aliens could respond. The fortress picked off larger ships with its main weapon. And through it all, human coordination was perfect. How are they working together so well? Clictor demanded. Our intelligence said humans fight each other more than their enemies. What the Chitauri didn't understand was that humans had spent months training together. Steve Johnson's pilots knew exactly how to support each other. Rachel's fortress crew could predict what the fighter pilots needed. Everyone worked as one big team. Swarm Commander, we've lost 20 ships, reported a Chitauri officer. Their weapons are cutting through our armor like it's not there. Retreat is not acceptable, Clictor clicked angrily. The Hive does not run from inferior species. But the Chitauri formation was falling apart. Ships that tried to break away from the human swarm attacks found themselves targeted by the fortress. Ships that stayed to fight got swarmed by the fast human fighters. Sir, Ben Carter said to Rachel, we're getting reports from the other mining stations. Similar results. The humans are winning everywhere, Rachel felt a moment of pride. Earth's children were proving themselves in battle. But she also felt sad. War was always terrible, even when you were winning. Offer them surrender terms, she ordered. Captain? Ben looked surprised. We're not monsters, Rachel said. If they want to stop fighting, we'll let them surrender with honor. The message was sent to the remaining Chitauri ships. Most of Clictor's fleet was either destroyed or badly damaged. Only 8 ships were still able to fight. This is Captain Stone to Swarm Commander Clictor. You fought bravely, but you're beaten. Surrender now, and your crews will be treated well. The response was immediate and angry. The Hive does not surrender to insects. We will fight until the last ship, then you'll die for nothing, Rachel said sadly. Last chance. Clictor's final answer was to charge his remaining ships directly at the fortress. It was brave but stupid. The human defenses destroyed the last Chitauri ships in minutes. When the battle was over, Rachel looked at the floating wreckage in space. She felt no joy in victory. These aliens had families and homes too. But they had chosen to attack Earth's children, and Earth had defended itself. Get me General Adams on Earth, she ordered. Paul Adams' face appeared on the main screen. Behind him, Rachel could see other military officers celebrating. Congratulations, Captain, Paul said. All 3 attacks were defeated. We captured or destroyed 93% of their fleet. What about prisoners? Rachel asked. 17 Chitauri survivors. They're shocked that we're treating them well instead of eating them or something. Rachel shook her head. Did they really think we were savages? They're learning different now, Paul said. But Rachel, this is just the beginning. This attack was meant to be a demonstration. When the Stellar Accord learns we won, they'll send everything they have. Rachel looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, powerful alien civilizations were about to learn that humanity was not the weak species they thought. Let them come, she said quietly. We'll be ready. 3 weeks after the Chitauri defeat, news of humanity's victory had spread across the galaxy like wildfire. In government buildings on dozens of worlds, alien leaders held emergency meetings. The impossible had happened. A primitive species had not only survived but completely destroyed a major Stellar Accord attack force. High Counselor Zithara stood in the crystal chambers of the Vorthak homeworld. Around him, other crystal beings flashed with angry red light. Their harmonious singing had turned into harsh, discordant notes. How could this happen? Demanded Crystal Singer Veltar. The Chitauri assured us that humans were defenseless insects. Zithara's body pulsed with frustrated energy. The humans deceived us. They pretended to be weak while secretly building weapons. This is treachery of the highest order. But not everyone was surprised by the news. On the distant world of Haven Prime, Ambassador John Carter sat in a small cafe with Elena Rodriguez. They were no longer hiding. Word of their secret meetings had already reached the Stellar Accord. "The Murhai have agreed to join us," Elena reported. "So have the Rocky people and the Flux beings. But John, they're scared. The Accord has threatened to destroy any species that helps humanity." John sipped his alien tea. It still tasted terrible, but he was getting used to it. "How many ships can our new friends provide?" "Not many big ones," Elena admitted. "Maybe 50 Murhai vessels, but they're designed for underwater fighting. The Rocky people don't really use ships. They just float through space by themselves. And the Flux beings are more like living electricity." "What about the other oppressed species?" John asked. Elena smiled. "That's the good news. The Calari bird people want to talk. So do the plant creatures from the verdant worlds. Even some of the machine people are interested." John felt hope growing in his chest. For too long, the Stellar Accord had kept smaller species divided and afraid. But humanity's victory had shown them that the great powers could be beaten. A new voice interrupted their conversation. "May I join you?" They looked up to see a tall, thin alien with blue-green skin and large black eyes. This was Ambassador Reefsinger of the Murhai, the same being Elena had been talking to for months. "Of course," John said, pulling out a chair. "We're honored by your presence." Reefsinger sat down carefully. Murhai needed to keep their skin moist, so the air around him smelled like ocean water. "I bring greetings from the Murhai Council of Tides. We have decided to formally request membership in your alliance." "Our alliance doesn't have a name yet," John said with a smile. "Then perhaps it is time to choose one," Reefsinger said. "The Murhai suggests the Free Galaxy Alliance, an organization where all species are equals, not servants." Elena nodded enthusiastically. "I like it. The Free Galaxy Alliance. It says exactly what we stand for." Over the next hour, more beings arrived at the cafe. Soon, John found himself hosting the first official meeting of species that had never worked together before. There was Crystal Maker Sol from the Rocky people. She looked like a living statue made of gray stone, but she could survive in the vacuum of space without any protection. Flux Entity Zap appeared as a small storm cloud that spoke through electromagnetic pulses. The translations came through John's communicator as a cheerful voice that sounded like distant thunder. The last to arrive was Ambassador Wingsong of the Calari. She looked like a giant eagle with bright red and gold feathers. Her species had been enslaved by the Vorthok for 300 years, forced to build crystal palaces and sing battle hymns. "The Calari remember freedom," Wingsong said in a voice like wind through trees. "We will fight to taste it again." John looked around the table at these strange and wonderful beings. A few months ago, none of them would have dared to meet together. The Stellar Accord had kept them separated, afraid, and weak. "Friends," John said, "we're not just forming an alliance. We're starting a revolution." Back on Earth, General Paul Adams was dealing with a very different kind of meeting. In the secret command center under Colorado, military leaders from around the world had gathered to plan for war. "The Stellar Accord will respond to our victory," Paul told the assembled officers. "Intelligence suggests they're building the largest fleet in galactic history." Captain Steve Johnson raised his hand. "Sir, how large are we talking about?" Lieutenant Kate Morris answered from her intelligence station. "Our Flux allies have been monitoring Accord communications. They're gathering over 3,000 ships from all member species." The room fell silent. Humanity's entire space fleet had maybe 200 vessels, and most of those were small fighters and patrol boats. Dr. Helen Brooks spoke from her research station. "General, I may have some good news. Our study of Chitauri prisoners has revealed more weaknesses in Accord technology." "What kind of weaknesses?" Paul asked. Helen smiled. "It turns out that all Accord species build their technology the same way. They share components, shield frequencies, even communication protocols. What works against one species will work against all of them. Carl Peterson looked excited. That means our adaptive weapons will be effective against the entire enemy fleet. Exactly. Helen said, but there's something else. I've been working with Flux Entity Zap on a new project. We think we can actually communicate with alien technology. Maya Singh looked confused. Communicate with machines? Think of it like learning their language, Helen explained. Every piece of Accord technology sends out signals. If we can learn to speak those signals, we could turn their own weapons against them, Paul finished, understanding immediately. Steve Johnson grinned. That would be the ultimate surprise attack. But Paul looked worried. Even with these advantages, we're still badly outnumbered. We need more allies. At that moment, Elena's voice came through the communication system from Haven Prime. General Adams, I have good news. The Free Galaxy Alliance now has 12 member species. We're not just a human resistance movement anymore. What can they provide? Paul asked. John Carter's voice joined the conversation. Different species, different abilities. The Murhai are excellent at surprise attacks. The Rocky people can act as living torpedoes, the Flux beings can hide inside enemy computer systems, and the Kaleri know all the Vorthek military secrets. Paul felt hope returning. How soon can they join us? They're already moving, Elena said. Murhai ships are swimming through the dark matter streams. Rocky people are floating toward the rendezvous point. The Flux beings are traveling through subspace. Everyone will be ready in 2 weeks. And the meeting location? Paul asked. John answered. The Meridian System. It's neutral space with lots of asteroids and gravitational anomalies. Good for the kind of fighting we're planning, Dr. Helen Brooks spoke up. General, I should mention something. This won't be a normal space battle. The Alliance species fight in ways the Accord has never seen. Murhai ships can phase in and out of normal space. Rocky people can survive direct hits that would destroy metal ships. Flux beings can possess enemy vessels. Maya Singh looked amazed. It'll be like fighting with ghosts and living rocks and lightning creatures. Exactly, John said from Haven Prime. The Stellar Accord thinks they know how wars work. Big ships in straight lines, shooting until someone gives up. They've never fought an enemy that includes living stars and people made of stone. Paul Adams felt something he hadn't experienced in months. Real confidence. How long until the Accord fleet arrives? Kate Morris checked her intelligence reports. 3 weeks, sir. High Counselor Zithara is leading them personally. He wants to end the human rebellion before it spreads to other sectors. Then we have 1 week to get ready after our allies arrive, Paul said. People, we're about to fight the most important battle in human history. Not just for Earth, but for the freedom of every species in the galaxy. Steve Johnson stood up. Sir, my pilots are ready. We've been training with holographic alien ships for months. Carl Peterson nodded. Our new weapons are tested and ready. Every ship in the fleet has been upgraded, Helen Brooks smiled. And our secret weapon is almost ready too. Give me 1 more week and we'll be able to speak fluent Vorthak machine language. John Carter's voice came through the speakers one last time. Paul, the Alliance representatives want to make something clear. This isn't just Earth's fight anymore. Every species here has been hurt by the Stellar Accord. We're all fighting for our freedom. Paul looked around the command center at all the brilliant people who had made this moment possible. 6 months ago, the galaxy had laughed at humanity. Now, humanity was leading a revolution that could change everything. Then let's give them a fight they'll never forget, Paul said. It's time to show the Stellar Accord what happens when free people work together. Outside, stars twinkled in the Colorado sky, but those stars were no longer distant lights. They were destinations where friends and allies were traveling to join humanity in the greatest battle ever fought. The Free Galaxy Alliance was ready to rise up. The largest fleet in galactic history moved through space like a metal storm. 3,000 ships from the Stellar Accord filled the darkness between stars. At the front flew High Counselor Zithara's crystal flagship, shining like a deadly jewel dot in the command center of his ship. Zithara studied the tactical displays. Around him, other Accord leaders argued about the coming battle. "The humans cannot possibly resist this force," said Voice of the Collective, the Nebulan representative. "We outnumber them 15-1. Hive Commander Clickter, brother to the fallen Swarm Commander, clicked his agreement. "The humans got lucky once. Luck does not win wars." But Zithara was not so confident. The defeat at Proxima Station had shocked the entire Accord. Somehow, the primitive humans had known exactly how to hurt Chitauri ships. That suggested better intelligence than anyone had expected. "Approaching the Meridian system," reported the navigation officer. "The humans are waiting for us in the asteroid field." Zithara looked at the sensor readings. "How many ships do they have?" "Approximately 200 human vessels," came the reply. "But, sir, there are other ships with them." "Unknown designs. Show me." The main display changed to show the Alliance fleet. Zithara saw human ships he recognized, but also strange vessels he had never seen before. Some looked like living sea creatures. Others seemed to be made of rock and metal fused together. A few appeared to be pure energy held in force fields. "What are those things?" Voice of the Collective asked Dot before anyone could answer a communication. Signal came through. Admiral Scott Turner's face appeared on the screen. The human looked calm and confident. "High Counselor Zithara," Scott said. "I am Admiral Turner of the Free Galaxy Alliance. You are trespassing in neutral space. Turn around and leave peacefully." Zithara's crystal body flashed with angry light. "Admiral, the humans have given themselves military ranks now?" "How amusing. More amusing than you know," Scott replied. "This is your last chance to avoid unnecessary bloodshed." "Bloodshed?" Zithara laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Little human, you are facing the combined might of the Stellar Accord. Surrender now and your deaths will be quick?" Scott smiled. "We tried diplomacy once, you mocked us. You called us primitive insects. Today you learn what happens when insects swarm." The communication ended. Zithara stared at the empty screen for a moment, then turned to his officers. "All ships, attack formation. Show these rebels the price of defying the Accord." The massive fleet began to spread out in the traditional Accord battle pattern. Large ships in the center, medium vessels on the flanks, fighters screening the advance. It was a formation that had conquered dozens of star systems, but as they moved forward, strange things began to happen. Flux beings, invisible to most sensors, slipped into the Accord ship's computer systems. Suddenly, navigation systems started giving wrong directions. Weapon targeting computers began seeing enemies that were not there. "Sir, we're having technical difficulties," reported the Vorthek communications officer. "Our systems are behaving strangely." At the same time, rocky people who had been floating silently in space suddenly came to life. These living asteroids crashed into Accord ships with the force of small meteons. Their stone bodies could survive impacts that would destroy metal vessels. "We're under attack by flying rocks," came confused reports from across the fleet. Then the Murhai ships revealed themselves. These vessels could phase in and out of normal space, appearing inside the Accord formation without warning. Their weapons were designed for close-range fighting in 3 dimensions. "Unknown ships materializing inside our formation," called panicked voices. "They're everywhere." But the real surprise came when the human ships began their attack. Admiral Scott Turner had learned well from Captain Steve Johnson's training. The human vessels moved like a coordinated swarm, each ship covering the others, striking weak points and disappearing before the enemy could respond. "Target the human flagship," Zithara ordered. "Destroy their leader." But which ship was the flagship? The human vessels all looked similar and moved as one unit. There was no obvious command ship to target. Then Dr. Helen Brooks' secret weapon went online. From the human ships came signals that spoke directly to Accord technology. Human operators like Tony Clark had learned to communicate with alien machines in their own electronic language. "What is happening to our weapons?" demanded Hive Commander Clichter as his ship's guns turned toward other Accord vessels. "The humans are talking to our computers," came the terrified reply. "Our own systems are turning against us." Across the battlefield, Accord ships found their weapons refusing to fire, their shields dropping without command, their engines shutting down at critical moments. The humans had turned the Accord's greatest strength, their standardized technology, into their greatest weakness. Wingsong of the Kaleri led her people's ships in graceful attack patterns. The bird-like beings knew every secret of Vorthak crystal technology. Their weapons struck at precisely the right frequencies to shatter crystal armor like glass. "The Kaleri have betrayed us," Zathara said in shock. "Our own slaves fight against us." "Not slaves anymore," came Wingsong's voice over the communication system. "Free beings choosing their own path." The battle that was supposed to be a demonstration of Accord power became a disaster. Ships that had never fought together before worked in perfect harmony. Humans provided coordination and tactics. Murhai delivered surprise attacks. Rocky people served as living shields and battering rams, Flux beings sabotaged enemy systems. Kaleri struck with knowledge of Vorthak weaknesses. "Sir, we've lost over 800 ships," reported a panicked officer. "The fleet is falling apart." Zathara could not believe what he was seeing. The most powerful military force in the galaxy was being defeated by a collection of species the Accord had dismissed as worthless. "All ships retreat to safe distance," he ordered. "We need to regroup," but Admiral Turner was not finished. "All Alliance ships, pursue the enemy. Don't let them escape to threaten other worlds." The retreat became a rout. Accord ships fled in all directions, abandoning the careful formations that had served them for centuries. The Alliance fleet followed, picking off stragglers and disabled vessels. In desperation, Zathara activated his flagship's ultimate weapon, a crystal cannon that could destroy entire cities. He aimed it at the center of the Alliance fleet. "If we cannot win, then no one wins," he declared. But as the weapon charged up, something unexpected happened. Flux beings inside his ship's systems turned the weapon's targeting system toward his own fleet. Rocky people had damaged the weapon's focusing crystals, and human tech speakers convinced the weapon's safety systems to shut down. The crystal cannon exploded inside Zathara's own ship. As his flagship died around him, the High Counselor finally understood. The humans had never been primitive. They had been different. And in that difference lay a strength the Accord had never imagined. When the battle ended, less than 300 Accord ships remained. Most were damaged and fleeing toward their home systems. The Free Galaxy Alliance had won the most complete victory in military history. Admiral Turner broadcast a message to the surviving Accord forces. "Return to your worlds. Tell your leaders that the age of the Stellar Accord is over. Any species that wants to join the Free Galaxy Alliance as equals is welcome. Any that chooses to continue the old ways of domination will face the consequences." 1 month later, Ambassador John Carter stood before the first session of the new Galactic Senate. The Great Hall was filled with representatives from hundreds of species, some former Accord members who had joined the Alliance, others who had lived in hiding for centuries. 6 months ago, 3 alien leaders sat in a room and mocked humanity. John began his speech. "They called us primitive insects. They offered us slavery and called it protection. They thought our differences made us weak." He looked around the hall at the incredible diversity of life forms present. Crystal beings sat next to energy creatures. Plant people shared tables with machine intelligences. Rocky people floated next to graceful bird beings. "Today we prove them wrong," John continued. "Our differences do not divide us, they make us stronger. When we work together, when we respect each other, when we choose cooperation over domination, we can achieve anything." The hall erupted in cheers, songs, electronic pulses, and harmonic crystals ringing in harmony. For the first time in galactic history, every voice was equal. In the months that followed, the Free Galaxy Alliance grew to include over 1,000 species. Trade flowed freely between worlds. Technology was shared instead of hoarded. conflicts were resolved through negotiation instead of war, and at the center of it all were the humans, the species that had been mocked for being different, who had turned that difference into the foundation of a new and better galaxy. The age of cooperation had begun.